We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button, because a supportive community is a strong community. Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Yovanov. For today's interview, for today's guest, we are not leaving my city of Toronto. We are sticking around talking to someone. She's an incredibly talented performer, choreographer, director. Let me welcome to the show Stephanie Graham. Stephanie, welcome.
Hi, Jean-Paul. Thanks for having me.
That's great. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today.
You bet.
Awesome. So we reconnected, what was it, last week, I guess, via Zoom Sheridan College meetup or something to that effect.
Yeah, reunion.
I know, because I hadn't seen you in what since we were at school, I guess.
Probably a long time.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't seen anybody in a long time. But when I saw you on there and all the stuff you've done, I thought, you know what, you'd be a great person to speak to and get to know and catch up and hear about your experiences in the world of musical theater. So,
fantastic.
Awesome. So I start every single one of our interviews with a 30-second bio. So in 30 seconds, who is Stephanie?
In the business, I guess.
Sure.
I started dancing when I was 6, and I thought ballet was my path. But of course, by the time I got to high school, I was doing community theater musicals and high school plays. And then, of course, went to Sheridan College in Oakville, Ontario. And then once I graduated, I was a performer for about 13 years. And then I transitioned to choreography and now to directing. And I've been doing that since, for the last 12 years or so.
Perfect. That was 28 seconds.
You
get 2 more seconds if you want to use it up. I don't know how.
I nailed it.
Awesome. Awesome. For an audition, that'd be perfect. Awesome. So usually my follow-up question is, so have you always been into musical theater or theater in general? Or as you said, you were into dance at the beginning. Were you also into theater and musicals, or did that kind of come out a little bit later?
It came out later. It definitely came out later. Yeah, dance was really my focus, and it was sort of my entry point into the arts. And but my parents always took us to like the symphony, and I mean, I was really lucky. The symphony, or to theater, or to dance that came through Kitchener-Waterloo, where I grew up. And they really, I mean, we did sports as well. They really tried to give us a well-rounded amount of activities. So I think it was just something I gravitated to.
Mm-hmm. So you saw everything at Center in the Square?
Sure did.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I lived there for about 5 years. So
oh my gosh, yeah.
I know KW. That's awesome. So you got into dance, and what was that moment when you decided, you know what, to take it beyond dance and become the triple threat?
I think, again, like in high school, grade 9, did a couple plays, and then Sears Drama Festival, and then again Kitchener-Waterloo Musical Productions did these massive community theater shows at Center in the Square. So I did 3 with them, dancing in the chorus, and I played Bonnie Jean in Brigadoon, directed by the great Alan Lund, because he would always come back, and he was running the Charlottetown Festival, but would come and do these shows with on Rainbow Stage, and then would come to Kitchener to direct these massive, like 100-person community theater shows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was amazing. But it really, I thought I was going to go into science, and when I did Brigadoon, they often brought a couple equity professionals into the community theater shows, and a young man named Michael Donald was playing Harry Beaton, and he sort of said, "What are you going to do next year?" Because I was in my final year of high school. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "I don't know. I'm not really sure. I think I'm going to science." And he's like, "Steph, you should really audition for Sheridan." And he had gone there. And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think you should." And so I talked to my parents about it, and they were amazing. And they said, "You can put your science on hold for a year, go to Sheridan," because I got in. "If you don't like it, you can go do science." And of course, after my first year, I was like, "I love this. I'm staying here." So, that first year, I think, really more solidified it for me.
Wow, science. Because funny thing is, you never know what somebody's going to go into, because we have one of our writers that have put into their new shows onto the station, and he's a published physicist. Yet he also
Wow.
writes musicals on the side. So what part of science did you want to go into? Do you know?
Yeah, biology.
Oh,
Biology. I was going to go to Dalhousie probably, or Queens, or Guelph. I didn't know, but biology was really my focus.
wow. That's very cool.
But
You never know what people are going to do.
there's so much, like music and math, of course, have always
Mhm.
been linked, right?
Yes.
So I think, there's something about those two sides of our brain that are somehow linked in that way.
Yep. It's true. If a dancer is spinning 3 times in the right direction and another dancer is spinning 2 times in the left direction,
Exactly.
when are they going to crash into each other if they're not that good? And in level 3, like I was. Um, so, so you when you auditioned for Sheridan, do you remember that moment? Because I always ask. I talked to Ryan Kelly and I talked
Oh
to
yeah,
Amy Lococo as well. Do you remember your audition? Do you remember what you sang?
I do. I sang "Open the Window" from Anne of Green Gables, and I
Okay.
sang "What I Did for Love" from a chorus line.
Oh yeah, and was how was that experience for you? Because I know it
It
was
was.
weird when I did it.
I mean, I had, again, because I, like, in the fall of my last year of high school, that's when it was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm gonna audition, and so I started taking sing lessons, and I coached my monologues with my drama teacher.
Mhm.
So I felt ready, but it was, I'd never done an audition like that
Yeah.
before, and the dance portion was first, so that was a breeze through that. And I'd done music theory, so again, that part was not a problem for me. But
Mhm.
the one-on-one, these little rooms, and I think I remember thinking, oh, I think it went well, but I have no idea. And then I was kind of shocked, I think, when they were like, oh, direct acceptance, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, great. you know
It must have been nice to get the dance out of the way first, get self-comfortable with
it
something
was
that
for
you
me,
are
for
nice.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the order I did it because dance is not my top. So I'm hoping it must have been singing or acting that I did first because I also got direct acceptance as well, and that was fun. And I turned them down. Did you turn them down or did you?
No, I went right after high
Okay,
school.
yeah, no, I in the place I said I'm not sure because I still want to go to. I had to audition for York still, and I didn't know at that point, so
Right. Yeah, yeah.
I made a good decision. I think at that point. So you went to Sheridan, and Sheridan's renowned for at that point for the incredible professors and the quality of people that came out of it. What did you get out of Sheridan? What do you remember?
Well, I remember, I mean, so much of it, so many of those teachers had such a huge impact on me. And I think, they really gave me a basis. And I think what I learned mostly actually was just like Sheridan was the beginning of my training.
Mhm.
And it really opened my eyes to the world of the business and gave me skill, especially good, audition skills.
Mhm.
But so much of our learning happens after you graduate. I mean, I always tell students when I'm teaching there, like, this is the beginning. This is just the beginning. You have to be a lifelong learner if you want to continue in this business. So I really got a good basis.
Yeah, I loved my 3 years there. They were hellish years at times,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, what I got out of that was so good, and we can use it in our daily skills as
Oh
well.
yeah,
Some of the stuff we learned.
totally. I mean, any education in the arts, it's transferable skills,
Yeah,
to anything.
for sure. So you got through Sheridan, you got through those 3 years. What happened after that? You are newly graduated. What happened to Stephanie?
Well, I actually went straight from graduation. I actually missed the graduation ceremony because I was doing a show. I did West Side Story at Huron Country Playhouse
Mhm.
right away, right out of school. And then, yeah, I pretty much was working right away. I mean, of course, I had Joe jobs over the years,
Mhm.
but yeah, I got my equity card within 2 years of graduating, and then pretty much was working fairly solidly. Um, throughout those years. Yeah. And I did 3 seasons at Stratford and 2 seasons in Charlottetown, which were amazing.
What
Uh,
3 years in Stratford was that?
I did 03, 05, 07.
I'm trying to remember if I saw anything at that point.
Musicals I did were Gigi, Into the Woods, Hello Dolly, Oklahoma, and My One and Only. Those were the
No,
musicals I did. Yeah.
those were the years I was in Ottawa or
Uh,
doing other things, so I couldn't get out to Stratford. Oh, you love Stratford. I
oh, it's
actually
fantastic.
I was speaking with Bruce Dow
Oh, lovely.
the other day. So he's gonna be on just before you in the series of
Oh, great.
podcasts, and yeah, talking about his 12 years at Stratford. So I love that place.
Yeah,
so
it's
incredible.
pretty extraordinary place.
So you were a performer for all that time. What happened that you decided, I want to direct and choreograph? Was there a moment you went, I want to do something different?
Well, I'd always been choreographing like through my performing years, like on benefits or assisting people, dance captaining, all that kind of stuff. And I think you know, as a dancer, the career is shorter. So I was in my 30s and I was thinking, okay, like how much longer can I do this? And also I had an opportunity to assist Donna Fior, and it was on a workshop of something. And then unfortunately the show didn't go ahead. But during that workshop, I had such a great time working with her and talking to the dance arranger and sort of like communicating the music part of the dance stuff. And then it's sort of like looking at the performers in the room and then realizing they're all 5 to 10 years younger than me. And I was supposed to swing the show. And I sort of had a moment of like, oh, interesting that because that's the first time it had happened. And so when the show didn't go through, I just kind of sent out a whole bunch of emails saying, you know, this show that I was supposed to do is no longer happening. I'm free for the next 6 months. If I'm interested in doing more assisting. And I just put out a whack of emails like that. And I had some lovely responses. And Annie Allen, who was the artistic director at Charlottetown at the time, she was like, oh, Carrie Gage is busy on Sound of Music. We need someone for the Young Company. Would you like to come and choreograph the Young Company? And for those people listening, the Young Company is an amazing, amazing program at Charlottetown at the Confederation Center that's been around since the early 90s, I think. And it's 18 to 24-year-olds or so, and they're in arts education programs, and they do a daily show at noon, and it's just and then they do training as well. So it's just an incredible summer for those young performers. And it was a nice, safe place to spread my wings. And I knew I had another acting contract that Christmas. So it was sort of like, well, if I don't like it, whatever, I have another contract coming and I can continue down that path. But I really loved it so much. And I ended up doing 3 summers back to back, being the director and choreographer of the Confederation Center of the Arts Young Company. And really, really spread my wings there. And it was really amazing. So it wasn't like I'm deciding right now. It was sort of like just a natural transition that happened.
Yeah, we all grow as you know, we age and we get older and get more experienced, and we realize things, right?
Yeah,
so very cool.
Totally.
So when you started directing and choreographing, wrong word. You started doing shows. Did you ever just direct and you had a different choreographer, or did you always do both?
I haven't yet. I mean, I've certainly had some great assistants and dance captains, but I have not yet done that. I've always had both titles if I'm directing.
How obviously you haven't done it yet, but how do you think you'll be able to react if you have to split up the duties? Because I know as a choreographer, you're going to be looking at it going, oh, I want to do that. Because you have a certain way of doing things, right?
Yeah. And I think it's the reason why a lot of choreographers become directors. It's because we already are. We're already directing the dances. We're already doing that. So it's an easy transition. Now, I think I would have to find the right person who is really in sync with me. And certainly as a choreographer, when I've just been a choreographer, I shouldn't say just, when I've been a choreographer with other directors, there are certain directors I gel with better than others. Just because you're a little bit more on the same wavelength, right? Sure. If I found the right person that I feel that I could really feel like that could be a good, strong communication, I think it would probably be easier. Because most of the directors that I've worked with when I'm a choreographer are not choreographers. They're just directors. And even as a choreographer, I've never worked with someone who is a director choreographer. So I think, you know, you have such a physical eye, like when you're seeing things in that way. So it would be interesting. I think it'd be interesting for sure.
Now, you mentioned before that you started doing some teaching at Sheridan College in Randolph. I read on your website and things like that. How did you transition to those places? Because that's some important places that are teaching students of the future.
Yeah, you know what, that was really, I actually started teaching just near the end of my performing career.
Mhm.
I got offered to, at Sheridan, they have a performing arts preparation program. So there's a 1-year sort of like 2-semester introduction to the arts. And Sarah Jean
Hood?
Burton,
No,
who of
Burton.
course taught us,
Yes.
she had moved over to teaching that program and also teaching for the UTM, University of Toronto Theatre Arundel program.
Mm-hmm.
And she had originally been teaching the ballet and jazz. And then she said, you know what, I'm close to retirement. I just want to teach the ballet. Do you want to come and teach the jazz?
Mm-hmm.
And it was, it was scary because I was like, I don't know, what do I have to offer? But of course, you still have lots to offer
Yeah.
after being in the business for a good amount of time. And I really loved it. And I did that on and off for about 10 years whenever I wasn't in a show or then starting to direct and choreograph. But I just loved it. And I really I think it helped me be a better communicator as a director and a choreographer, because you have to explain things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to figure out how other people's sort of minds work, or how they pick up steps and those kind of things. So teaching really helped my process as a communicator. And I just loved mentoring the students. I loved that so much.
For sure. I work for a independent theater company at York University. And the kids that come through there, they're so passionate. And mine are more raw, because obviously at Sheridan and Randolph, they are the creme de la creme, the elite, because they're in the program, where mine are math students and history students.
Oh,
too.
great.
But their passion is still the same, right? And it's fun because they're so young and new and raw. They will bring things that you might not even think of, because we've been in the business. And it's so exciting to see that.
I always say I learn way more from my students, I think, than they teach. Like I teach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, probably not, but
Yeah.
that's how I feel. Like I feel like I get so much back from them, and it's such a great space to be in. I love it.
Yeah, working with the kids is I can't believe I can say kids, but
students. Yes.
Students. So now I'd love to ask, what has changed? Has anything changed since you graduated? Has Sheridan morphed into something different? What is similar? What is dissimilar from?
Oh, it's a completely different program now.
Okay.
Well, first of all, it moved from a diploma to a degree.
Yeah.
So it's now a 4-year program. So there's a lot more academics and theory. But no, it's great. I mean, I think, in our day and age, getting a degree is especially important to a lot of parents.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something. And again, not a very small percentage of each theater school graduating class in any program across the country, 10, 20 years down the road, how many people are still in the business, so having a degree,
Mm-hmm.
I think is important for some people. And then also they've just shifted it again. So there's sort of different streaming processes. So the kids students can, sort of specialize in certain things as well. So it's really changed a lot.
Like specialize in what, for example?
I think in their 3rd or 4th year, they can actually I may be interested in being exploring being a creative team member, or I'm exploring writing or commercial vocal performance more.
Mm-hmm.
So they can actually specialize a little bit more.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they're able to work on these new shows too.
Oh my gosh, and the Canadian Musical Theatre Project is an unbelievable program that Michael Rubinoff started, and we'll have to get him on your podcast.
I'm trying.
Yeah, this incredible opportunity that these students have to work on new shows. It's really great.
But didn't we do something like that? Didn't we do the Birds? Were you involved in that?
I was in the Birds. Yeah, we did that musical version of it, Aristophanes' The Birds, and I think it was called something different in the studio way back then.
I don't remember.
It was the studio was a place for exploratory work, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they've really shifted that focus more on new work, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the theater, I guess it was in October, November, to see, they were doing a workshop of 3 shows, Grow, Pump Up the Volume, and I forget what the other one was. whatever it was. And it was so exciting to see these new shows, the students working on these new things. And even more exciting because I got to check out the backstage of the theater and go,
It hasn't changed.
well, now they have showers.
Oh yeah.
So that was weird and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had them. They just didn't work when we were there. But.
Like we were stuck over in the middle of nowhere, in the G wing in the basement. So
Yeah,
that was fun. So what highlights have you experienced in your career? What are the ones you remember, the shows?
oh gosh, there's so many. I mean, I always say, because people always ask you, oh, what's your favorite show? And I always say like the one I'm working on, because you know, you get to, when you're actually working on a show, especially as a director and a choreographer, you get to really dive into the material and get to know it. I mean, I think in my performing career, there was definitely like playing Belinda and Johnny Belinda in Charlottetown was amazing, and being at Stratford. And I think my final season in Stratford was my favorite, doing Oklahoma and My One and Only, just like two totally different shows. And a great little small part in Oklahoma, played Gertie Cummings. And then My One and Only, like, I mean, we had gold lame flight suits and gold sparkly tap shoes. And, you know, it was just divine, that show. It was so great. That's the one show I could have done for the rest of my life. I think it was just so fun. But, you know, and as a director choreographer, again, I feel like every show I work on is just, because you get to see how brilliant these shows are and in their crafting.
Yeah.
And you really dive into it much more than you do as an actor. And I mean, I remember, you know, I've worked on Next to Normal, and I've worked on Chicago, and yeah, and these incredible shows are just getting an appreciation for other shows that sometimes get the short end of the stick, like Mamma Mia and Shrek. These are amazing shows, and they have such heart.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate to work at the Globe Theater a lot in Regina, which is a theater in the round. So,
Wow.
you know, you can't mask the story with sets, and, you know, you have to tell that story, and you have to tell it as clearly and with as much honesty as possible, because you can't hide. There's nowhere to hide in theater in the round. And I that's been a great gift to me, to be able to work in that way, because you're forced as a director to find the truth in every scene. And again, in something like Shrek, you can, let's have a crazy puppet. I mean, I saw that show on Broadway, and Rob and I, my husband and I, just sat there going like, the money just dripping from that stage. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And we were like, kind of like, where's the story amongst all this stuff?
Yeah.
And so when I actually got to do it and work, like direct it, I was like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
This is such a good show, and it's such a good book. And, so that's been really a gift. And so it's so hard. I can't really pick favorites, but yeah, there's been definitely the highlights and things that I'm super proud of. And
yeah, that's awesome. I like that you pointed out that Shrek to spend all that money. I honestly,
oh my gosh,
if I ever got to direct a show that had a budget and had a theater bigger than a 50-seat theater, I wouldn't even know what to do with the stage or the money. Like, because my brain's always like, okay, how do I make this work with nothing?
Right. Yeah.
Which I think, I don't know if that's good or bad in the long run.
I think it's good at the beginning. You know,
Yeah.
I think, you know, especially as Canadians, we're always working on like super small budgets. So, you know, having opportunities to work on some big shows is really important for us to develop and be able to be international directors and choreographers, because everything here is, you know, on crazy small budgets. So even the regionals, it's like budget. So it's, yeah, it's wild.
It's funny. Is there a show that you would love to do still, or have done, or direct?
Yeah, I have a bucket list for sure. It's really long. But yeah, I mean, certainly, you know, On the Town is on there, and Legally Blonde. I've been chasing that one for a long time. It never seems to land in my corner. Some other people get it, but that's okay. I love that show. I think it's so brilliantly crafted and so smart and so witty. And I think the message is still so relevant right now. Sure. And but yeah, On the Town, that score is just astonishing. But yeah, I mean, the list is very long, but you know, I'm not at the point of like saying no to anything. Like, it's Canada, so we just keep saying yes to everything.
You can't say no.
So,
when you say no once, you're over. Right?
Yeah, you just keep saying yes. So and again, shows that I never thought I would get to work on, I've been able to work on, and I love it.
Very cool. So, considering what's going on in the world today, where do you see musicals going? Because I know we had our Zoom thing with Sheridan, and Mervish Productions just said they're not coming back till 2021. So where do you think we're going to do with musical theater right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super challenging, and I think, but as we've seen, in times of trouble throughout history, people have always turned to the arts.
Mhm.
They've turned it for escapism, they've turned it for comfort, they've turned to it for so many reasons, right? And I mean, I think all the online digital stuff is incredible. Like, the New York City Ballet and National Theater and Stratford now is releasing all their Shakespeare plays. But I don't know if you watched the Sondheim thing the other night. But of course, they had massive technical difficulties at the
Yes.
beginning and
Yes, they did.
started like an hour late. And I think Judy Kuhn actually like tweeted saying like, this is why live can never be replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just going to have to wait. And that sucks.
Mhm.
And it's really, I find it really isolating. And I, again, there was an article in the New York Times that Joel Gray wrote just about how much he's missing having that community.
Mhm.
And just going to the theater, right? It's a communal experience, and
Yeah.
I don't think humans will ever change from that. Again, I think there will be possibilities for digital stuff, but it will never replace sitting in a theater with 100, 400, 3,000 people, right? Like it will never replace that.
Yep.
So we're just gonna have to be patient. And it sucks, but I think it will return, and it will take a while for recovery. And some theater companies will make it, and some won't.
Yeah.
Through this time, but yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important.
Well, it's weird to say, but the nice thing about us having to be self-isolated, we found other ways to start working with each other, like the virtual workshops and classes, and things like that we're starting to connect with people all over the world,
Yes,
which is so great.
And I think, access too, like people who could never afford a ticket
Yep.
to the New York City Ballet can watch it on YouTube right now. Like that, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I kind of look at it, we've taken a step back because of this, but maybe we will eventually realize we're taking 2 steps forward.
Yeah, I mean, I hope some of the digital access will continue once we're back in some way. Like even the National Ballet of Canada too, they've been doing these great, like you can take a ballet class with the principal dancers, or you can do a cooking session with one of the corps de ballet members. Like it's really fun, and it's like that part of it's been really fun.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing a really great job of keeping, their branding going in that way. And I hope actually in a way, like maybe even if when the ballet comes back, that they do maybe have once a week or once a month that you still get to take on Instagram Live a class with somebody, because it's really fun. It's been really fun to be in their homes. And like, I took a class yesterday with Heather Ogden and Guillaume Cote, and like their kids were having a meltdown, and you're like, okay, like, well, this is life, right? And it's really fun.
That's live theater. Kids melt down in the theater.
Absolutely, right?
Get used to it. Awesome.
And I've done a couple of play readings online, and again, it always makes me a bit happy and sad, because it's not the way we should be doing it, but at least there's a way we can do it right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's at least there's something still to fill our theatrical souls, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Stephanie, and
thrilled
talking
to be here
and telling me about everything. I haven't catch up with you and everybody else. It's been great. But before we go, I always ask 3 questions of all my guests. Now, there's no right or wrong answers, but there is one wrong answer.
Okay.
So be prepared.
Okay.
All right. So first question, no context. Weber or Sondheim?
Sondheim.
And why?
I think he can write a lyric that gets to the heart of what people are trying to communicate.
Okay, cool. All right, that one has no right or wrong answer. That's more of an opinion. So,
but Weber, you got to shout out, like, worldwide appeal. Like, come on, it's astonishing.
Yep. And that's why I ask, because without context, because they're so completely different and they don't do the same things necessarily.
It's kind of a bit apples and oranges.
It is. It is completely different, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I like to hear what people say. So correct answer. I will give you that one. One right. Second question. What musical did you find the most difficult to choreograph due to, style of music or the time period or whatever it is?
Oh, maybe not because of time period, but of my own limitations. Would be Crazy for You. It was the biggest challenge because tap does not come easily to me. Because I'm such a ballet bunhead to start, that tap came later in my life, but it was such a good challenge, and I loved it by the end, but it was hard work.
Yeah. Because yes, you're a dancer and a choreographer, but yeah, ballet and tap. I don't even know how I got through tap class at school. My feet do not do any of those things. I applaud anybody who can tap dance.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But all right, correct answer. So now, third and most important question of them all: audience members eating food in the theater, yes or no?
Absolutely not. No, it's so distracting.
I love the reaction from people. It's just automatic no.
Yeah, I mean, it's audience. It comes from the word audio, right? Like, and as our world has gotten more into, like, we want sound to come to us as opposed to us leaning forward into the sound. The more we add distractions, it makes me bonkers. It drives my husband crazy because I will literally turn around and like grab people's stuff that they're doing. Like, it's just so distracting. Yeah. And what I think drives me more crazy is the other people have no awareness of how distracting they're being, and disrespectful to other audience members. So that's what, absolutely not.
Yeah. I understand why theaters are doing it money wise, but just come on. 2 hours, 2 hours of your life. You can just
and
not
don't even get me started on phones. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll figure it out and be able to block food and phones from the theater, but
I don't know.
Unfortunately, I think it's going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, it is. But as long as people are respectful, you know what I mean? Like, I just please tweet and Instagram photos at the beginning. Go for it. Like, let's get more publicity for these shows. But you don't need your phone on. I'm sure, unless you are curing cancer in that moment. I think your phone can be off for 45-minute act one. Like, literally, I don't understand, but
we'll never understand. I wish
exactly.
At least Elizabethan times, they had other problems, but at least it wasn't the cell phone. So
exactly.
I will take those any day. Again, thank you. That was 3 correct answers.
Woohoo! Yay!
Nice. So again, thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on and talking to me. Oh, is there anything you want to plug? Because I know you're doing some jazz. What is it? Theater jazz.
I teach, normally I'm the coordinator of theater jazz at Metro Movement, and I teach and I guest, and Metro Movement is a drop-in dance studio in Toronto. And every Friday at 12:30, we have a class. And normally when the studio's open, we have a rotating roster of professional choreographers that teach the class. So the participants can meet these choreographers outside of an audition room, which I think is really important. And vice versa, the choreographers get to meet these dancers and performers outside of an audition room, because there's no job at stake in that moment. So I think it's really a great exchange of ideas, and it's a really amazing class. And but right now we're doing them online. So the Toronto Online Dance Collective, if you're interested, you can sign up online, and we're doing Zoom classes, and it's not quite the same, but at least we're finding ways to connect with our community, which again is really important in this time.
That is very cool. Very cool that people have the opportunity to go do that and participate. Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on, talking to us, catching up, and good luck, and break a leg with everything in the future. And
thanks, John
safe.
Paul.
No problem. All right. That was Stephanie Graham here on Be Our Guest. Tune in next week as we talk to another guest or guests about their life, love, and passion. That is musical theater. I am your host, John Paul Jovanov, as always. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.